Have you ever signed into your Hostinger VPS dashboard and wondered, how the heck do I see all the files and the folders on this thing? Where are they? Well, my name is Mike Murphy, and in this tutorial, I am going to show you how to use SFTP to remotely sign into your Hostinger VPS and view all of the files and the folders on your VPS just like you could in Finder or on your local computer. And I am going to show you 3 different methods or 3 different tools that you can use to connect to your Hostinger VPS remotely and do file sharing using the SFTP protocol. First, let's just understand the terminology. So you may have heard of the term FTP. That stands for File Transfer Protocol. FTP is now kind of the old school method. If you had a website back in the day, you could access the back end of your WordPress site or your website, all of the files and the folders, all of that confusing stuff. You would do so using a file manager, and you would connect using FTP. Well, the new school method, the one that I'm going to show you today, how you can connect to your Hostinger VPS to view the folders and files on your VPS, is called SFTP. The S just stands for secure. So SFTP is Secure File Transfer Protocol. FTP, by default, is set up on port 21. It is inherently insecure because all of the data that you send over the network, including your passwords, is unencrypted. Now, SFTP, which stands for Secure File Transfer Protocol, is on port 22. And port 22 is the same port where SSH, or Secure Shell, is set up. When you use SFTP, the network is secure or encrypted from end to end. So all of the data and the files that you're sharing across the network are completely encrypted. And another big reason why SFTP is more secure than FTP is because of the credentials required. For FTP, you only need a username and password. Usernames and passwords are guessable by hackers, so it leaves you vulnerable. Watch what happens in the password field when I change it from FTP to the SFTP protocol. You see this little key appears. Because SFTP, just like SSH, does not use passwords to connect. You use what are called SSH keys when you want to connect remotely and securely to your Hostinger VPS to do file sharing using the SFTP protocol. You are going to enter in the IP address of your VPS. You are then going to enter in the SSH username. The default is root, and instead of a password, you are first going to generate a pair of SSH keys locally on your computer. I have an entire tutorial on how to do that. You store the private SSH key securely on your computer, and you put the private SSH key in the password field of whatever program you're using to connect using SFTP. And you upload or you add the public SSH key to your Hostinger VPS. And this public SSH key is worthless on its own. You must prove through a series of challenges that you own the private key. And if the private key and the public key are a match, then your Hostinger VPS is going to grant you access to the server. Remember that SFTP and SSH by default come in on port number 22. So when you click connect, you're basically knocking on door number 22 of your VPS. And your VPS knows that if you want to get through this door, well, you need more than just a username and password. You need a private key. You need to prove that you have the other half that matches my public key, which I store here on the server. The process of pairing the private SSH key stored locally on your computer with the public SSH key that you store on your Hostinger VPS is a complex and secure digital handshake, and it's all done over an encrypted connection. And this is all done in a matter of seconds. Method or tool number 1 that you can use to remotely and securely connect to your Hostinger VPS and view all of the folders and the files on your server using the SFTP protocol is to just use an SSH client. Now, I use the free plan of Termius, but you can use any SSH client that you want. So I use Termius when I want to connect to my Hostinger VPS in the terminal using the SSH protocol. So if I want to connect to the terminal, I have a little shortcut here. It's connecting to my Hostinger VPS remotely, and now I'm in the terminal over an SSH connection. So this is totally encrypted. The terminal is awesome when you want to run things like updates on your server remotely and securely. But we want to see the folders and the files on our VPS. We're not interested in just accessing the terminal. All I have to do is connect to a host. Now I've already got the shortcut created, so I can just double click this. It's connecting to my VPS the same way it did in the terminal, only now I'm in SFTP, so I am seeing the files and folders on my VPS. Pretty cool, huh? And the way that I can create these shortcuts in Termius so I can connect remotely and securely to my Hostinger VPS, whether I do so using SSH through the terminal or SFTP so I can view all the files and folders on my server, I'll click New Host. Enter in the IP address of the VPS that you want to connect to. Enter a label. That's just the name of the shortcut that you're seeing right here. So I can just call this SFTP, and I'll put number 2. SSH on port number 22, so just keep that as is. For the credentials, put the username of your SSH, so that is root by default. You can find your SSH username on the overview page of your VPS dashboard. If you look right there, SSH, you can see it says root, and that is the IP address of your VPS. So username root, we do not use a password with SSH, we use keys. So I'll click plus key, I'll choose key. I've already uploaded my private SSH keys in Termius, so I'm going to select VPS number 2. I'll click connect. Now in Termius, it's connecting to my VPS using the terminal and SSH. But remember, we wanted to view the files and the folders, so for that we're going to use SFTP. So I can just come up here and choose SFTP. And now, instead of accessing my server using the terminal, I am seeing all of the folders or directories and files on my VPS. So I'm in the root directory, which you can see right here. And on this VPS number 2, the only Docker container that I have installed right now is N8N and traffic. So there's the Docker Compose YAML file for N8N. And if I want to edit this, or if I want to open or download it to my computer, I can do so. I can just click open. It's going to open up in a text editor. And now I'm editing the Docker Compose YAML file. If I make any changes, I can save it. And it's just going to upload right to my server because I am connected using SFTP. The second method, or the second set of tools that you can use to connect to your VPS using the secure SFTP protocol, is just using a file manager. File managers have been around forever. These were the original tools that you would use to connect to your server or website using FTP. There's a ton of different file managers out there. Some popular free ones include CyberDuck, FileZilla. More premium Mac ones are Forklift and Transmit. It does not matter which file manager you use as long as it supports the SFTP protocol. Now, I use Transmit a lot on my Mac, but it is a paid tool. So I'll show you how you can connect using CyberDuck, which is a very popular free tool. It's been around forever, open source. All I have to do is just open a connection. I'll choose SFTP SSH File Transfer Protocol. The server is going to be the VPS IP address that you want to connect to. Username is the SSH username, so that is root by default unless you changed it. And you're not going to enter a password, you're going to enter an SSH key. I'll click the drop down for SSH private key. Choose is going to open up the hidden .ssh file on your local computer. This is where you typically generate SSH keys. You're going to choose the private key, and now I'm just going to click connect. It's connecting to my VPS. I need to authorize it in 1Password, and now I am connected and I can see all of the folders and files on my Hostinger VPS. I am in the root directory of my VPS, and the root directory is where you land when you launch the VPS terminal. And I can also see more folders and files on my VPS if I just go up a level. So if you have always been curious about what exactly is on my VPS, I can't really see everything when I'm in the terminal. I don't understand the terminal. I want to visually see the folders and files. Well, connecting to your VPS over SFTP is not only secure, but it's also a great way for you to visually see everything that's on your VPS. This is impromptu, but notice there's a directory or a folder called Docker. It's currently empty on this VPS too. But if I go to the Docker Manager catalog, let's install the very popular OpenClaw. If I click deploy, I'm just going to come down here and click deploy. OpenClaw has installed on this VPS. I'm back in CyberDuck, and now when I open up the Docker directory of the Docker folder, how about that? There is OpenClaw. And inside OpenClaw is the Docker Compose YAML file. I can open that up in a text editor, I can download it, but now I have access to all the files and folders on my VPS. And just a word of caution, these are the actual folders and files that are on your VPS. So if you were to delete something when you're connected using SFTP, well, you are going to delete it directly from your VPS. Now, the last method or tool that you can use to connect to your VPS using the SFTP protocol is the terminal if you're on Mac, or PowerShell or command line if you're on Windows. Now, for most of you, connecting to your VPS using SFTP in the terminal is not a very practical or user-friendly method because you're not going to visually see the folders and files like you can in a file manager or an SSH client. But to do so, if you want to flex and kind of impress your friends, all you have to do is just type out SFTP space. Then you're going to put in your SSH username, so root, R-O-T, @ and then you're going to enter in the IP address of your VPS. Okay? So just like that. And now when I tap return, it's going to ask you to authenticate. So I have my SSH keys saved in 1Password. So you must have your SSH key. I'll click authorize. And now I am connected to my VPS. Now it's not a typical command line, so it's limited on what you can enter here. But I could do something like ls. And that is going to list all the files, which I can see those same files and folders. If you want to get out of this, all you have to do is just type out exit, and that'll get you back to the command line. And if you did not know that you could remotely connect to your VPS's terminal over SSH by just using your terminal and not having to use a third-party SSH client like Termius, well, you can do so by just entering SSH. So instead of SFTP, we're entering SSH space SSH username, root, @ and then you're going to enter in the VPS IP address. That might look familiar. Well, when you sign into your Hostinger VPS dashboard, on the Overview tab, if you go to Root Access, notice this entire line is exactly what we just put in the terminal. So when you click the icon to copy, it's copying this entire command. So when you go to the terminal, you just paste that in, Command V, tap return, and now you are access your VPS terminal. How cool is that? Well, if you have ever wondered or wanted to know how you can actually see all of the folders and files on your VPS, so if you just want to explore what's on your VPS, or maybe you want to work with folders and files but you don't want to have to use the terminal, well, now you know you can connect remotely and securely to your VPS using SFTP, or Secure File Transfer Protocol. It uses the same SSH encrypted connection, so you need SSH keys to connect, making it a very secure connection. You can connect to your VPS remotely and securely using an SSH client like Termius. You can also use a file manager like Transmit or CyberDuck. You just enter in your VPS IP address, the SSH username, and then your private SSH key. You click connect, and you can do the same. It's a little more advanced, not as user-friendly, but you can also use the terminal or the PowerShell on Windows, SFTP, root @ and then your VPS IP address, connect, authorize your SSH key, and now you're connected to SFTP. That is SFTP on your Hostinger VPS. My name is Mike Murphy, your AI handyman. Cheers.